One second. I think already the diagram is here. Let me try to open. Just hold on, please. Okay. So see here. So what is the concept of this ALE IDOC is? Just here. Try to understand this. Assume that we have an SAP system which is maintained by what? Ready Labs. Okay. And there is another SAP system which is maintained by what? Matrix. Okay. So these two are what? Business partners. Ready Labs and Matrix are what? Business partners. Try to understand this. Ready Labs and Matrix are business partners. So business partner means what? On a day-to-day basis, they'll be exchanging their business data. Okay, right. So assume that as part of this Ready Labs, we'll be having a database. Okay, and this as part of this Matrix implementation, we'll be having what other database. So each client will have its own database. Now here, assume that my requirement. So I'm a customer now. I'm placing an order with what? Ready Labs. Try to understand. Ready Labs and Matrix are what? They are pharmaceutical companies. So assume that as a customer, I'm raising an order with what? Ready Labs. Okay, I'm raising some order with what? Ready Labs. So in that order, assume that there are some products. In that order details, there are some products which are actually manufactured by what? Their business partner what? Matrix. Try to understand, they're actually manufactured by their business partner Matrix. Okay, so as a customer, I don't know about that. Since those products are marketed under the name of Ready Labs, I am raising an order with what? Ready Labs. Okay, so in that order, there are some products which are actually manufactured by their business partner. So what this Ready Labs has to do, that product details or that order details, they have to share with what? Their business partner. So assume that here we are having some sales order data or some purchase order data or some customer data, vendor data, material data, cost center data. Like that, we have some order details. So what the Ready Labs has to do, they has to share that order details with their business partner. So what we will do as part of this Ready Labs implementation, we will be running some program. We call that program as what? Selection program or what? Outbound program. Okay, where we are running this program in the sender system. Who is the sender here? Ready Labs. Who is the receiver here? Matrix. So what this selection or outbound program will do, it will pick the data from this database. It will read the data from their own database and they'll generate the IDOC. This program will generate what? IDOC, and whatever the data they are read from their database, that data will be stored in what? IDOC, and then the IDOC will be distributed to their business partner. So all these four activities are done by whom here? By the outbound program, or we call it as what? Selection program. So what is the job of that program? It has to read the data from their database, okay, generate the IDOC and store the data in that IDOC and distribute that IDOC to their business partner. So what is this IDOC here? IDOC is nothing but a container here, which will carry the data from what? One system to another system. Understood? IDOC is a container which will carry the data from one system to another system. In order to configure the IDOC, in order to generate the IDOC, in order to distribute the IDOC, in order to post the IDOC, we require a technology. That technology is nothing but called as what? ALE technology, application link enabling. So what that will do? It will read the ALE. What it will do? It is responsible for configuring the IDOC, generating the IDOC, distributing the IDOC, and what? Posting the IDOC. So it will assume that we have distributed the IDOC to my receiver system. Okay, so with the receiver Matrix. So at the receiver side also, you will have one program called as posting program, or we call it as inbound program. What is the job of this particular program? It is responsible for reading the incoming IDOC data. So you can see here, it is responsible for reading the incoming IDOC data. So what that IDOC data is, what is that IDOC is doing? It is carrying some data now. What is the data? It can be customer data, vendor data, material data, sales order data, purchase order data, billing data, whatever it is having some data. So the posting program has to read that data and post that data to their own database. It has to post the data to their update the data to their own database. So in order to generate the IDOC, distribute the IDOC and post the IDOC, we need to use what? ALE. So in this case, both sender as well as receiver, both sender and receiver are what? SAP systems only. Assume that here there is another receiver who are running their business on what? Non-SAP system. Okay, assume that there is another company called as Ranbaxy. Okay, they're running their business on what? Non-SAP system. So we need to distribute that IDOC to non-SAP system also. I cannot directly distribute the IDOC to non-SAP system because IDOC is what? SAP's proprietary format. In the sense, only SAP systems can understand the IDOC format. So since the receiver is a non-SAP system, okay, so we'll have some tools available, some third-party tools. There are many tools in the market like EDI, TIPCO, web methods, exchange infrastructure. We call it as process infrastructure. Okay, so by using these third-party tools, what these third-party developers will do? They will convert the IDOC to what? XML format. They'll convert the IDOC format to XML format, and that XML file will be sent to what? Non-SAP system. Why only XML? XML is a universal accepted language. Any system can understand the XML format. Make clear? So, what is the concept of this IDOC here? IDOC is a container of data which will carry the data from one SAP system to another SAP system or SAP to what? Non-SAP system. In order to configure, generate and distribute and post to the IDOC, we require what? This particular ALE technology. Okay, so here when I am running my outbound program, I'll give some material number. So when I give the material number, okay, that material data is stored in many tables now. It is stored in Mara table, which contains the general material data. We have a table MAKT, which stores the material descriptions. We have MARC, which contains what? Material plan data. We have MARD, material storage data. So what this program has to do, it has to pick the relevant data. The relevant data might be part of one or more tables. It will pick that particular data and store the data inside what? IDOC, and distribute the IDOC to what? Receiver system. If the receiver is a SAP system, it can directly read it and update it to its own database. Or if the receiver is non-SAP, the third-party developers will use some tools to convert the IDOC format to XML format, and then the XML file will be sent to what? Non-SAP system. So this is the overall concept of what? ALE IDOC. So during the transportation, means during the generation of the IDOC or during the distribution of IDOC or during the posting of IDOC, IDOC may fail. IDOC may contain errors. So if the IDOC contains errors, what is our job? We need to monitor that IDOC and we need to reprocess that particular error IDOC. Instead of sending it from the beginning, wherever the error is there, we need to address that error, we need to fix that error, and we need to reprocess the error IDOC so that it will continue its journey to the target system. Any questions, please ask.
It's clear from my end. Can we have an example? Can we have an example on the live?
Yeah. When we come to IDOC topics, this IDOC will be around 12 to 15 hours. So we'll be discussing this elaborately. How to distribute it from one system to another system. So before that, we need to configure it. So all those steps we'll discuss in the live session.
Okay.
Yeah, please mute your speakers. Yeah. Any other questions, others? I'm just giving the outline. How to work with that, we'll be seeing the practical part from tomorrow onwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Done. Okay. So this is the concept of what? ALE, IDOC. Then we have what? LSMW. So those who know basic ABAP, already we know LSMW tool. It is used for what? Migrating the data. Okay, so if you are using LSMW tool, I can use different techniques. We have direct input method, we have batch input recording as part of BDCs. As part of BDC, we will be having this LSMW. We can use it in 4 different techniques. So as part of this cross applications, we will be using this LSMW using Idoc and what? BAPI. So one second. Let me open that. Just hold on. Yeah. So what is this LSMW? LSMW is what? Legacy System Migration Workbench. So if you see this LSMW, see here. It's basically what? It's a tool. Okay, what this tool will do? It will pick the data from the legacy system. Okay, and we have to migrate the data. What is one of the BDC technique? We'll migrate it to what? SAP system. So while using this LSMW tool, we can use it in 4 different techniques: direct input, batch input recording, IDOC technique, and what? BAPI technique. So this, as part of our cross application, we'll be discussing what? LSMW using IDOC and LSMW using what? BAPI. As part of the basic ABAP, we have LSMW using direct input and LSMW using what? Batch input. So basically, LSMW is a tool which will pick the data from our text file or Excel file and migrate the data to what? SAP system. So for that, we need to configure the steps there. So again, we'll be seeing this practically when we go to that. It's basically a migration tool to transfer the data from what? The text file or Excel file. The source is always what? Text file or what? Excel file. Okay. So when I said legacy system here, it can be a text file or what? Excel file. So some huge amount of data is in the text file or Excel file. I need to migrate that to what? SAP system. So we'll be using what? LSMW tool by using what? Different techniques. Then what else? We have enhancements. So what do you mean by enhancements here? Enhancement is what? Without disturbing the current functionality, we need to plug what? Additional functionality. That is the meaning of what? Enhancement. So as we know, as part of this SAP, there are some predefined transactions provided by what? SAP. Means if you want to create a new customer, we use XD01. New vendor, we use XK01. New material, we use MM01. To create a sales order, we use what? VA01. To create a purchase order, we use what? ME21. So there are thousands of predefined transactions which are already provided by what? SAP itself. So according to our customer requirement, that particular transaction may not suit our exact requirement. So in that standard SAP transaction, I need to do some enhancements. So these enhancements can be in the form of what? Additional fields. Means already in the SAP transactions, there are some predefined fields given by what? SAP. Apart from those fields, according to our customer business requirement, we may require to add what? Additional fields to capture some additional data. So at that time, we need to enhance the transaction to plug what? Additional fields. Or I may require to add some what? Additional menu items. Additional menu items means again in the standard transactions there are some what standard menus will be there. So assume that this is the menu. This is a standard menu which is available in the notepad. These are all the menu items. According to my customer requirement, I want some additional menu item. Okay, so I should able to I need to check whether it is possible or not. If it is enhanceable, I should be able to plug what additional menu items or on the existing standard fields only, I need to provide some additional validations. There are some predefined validations provided by what? SAP itself. But according to our customer business requirement, we need to plug what? Additional validation. So it is something like this. Here, it's already there. Yeah, you can just observe here. So assume that we have what? One standard SAP transaction like XD01, XK01, MM01, VA01, ME21, like this. We have some standard what transactions. Okay, so assume that in this standard transaction we have some menus here, menu 1, menu 2, okay, something like this, and we have what some standard fields here. So assume that we are implementing SAP for a customer. Assume that you are working for some company, Wipro is implementing SAP for a customer called as what? National Grid. This is the name of the project. So this is the name of the customer. So they are implementing SAP for what? A customer called as what? National Grid. So according to this National Grid business requirement, what they want as part of the standard menu, they want some additional menu items. For example, if you take the standard menu, how many menu items are there here? Only two menu items, item 1 and item 2. But according to my customer requirement, I want one additional menu item. So I'll be adding the additional menu item on behalf of my customer. Or assume that this transaction already has got three fields. These three fields are not sufficient. I want to capture some additional data. So I should be able to add what? Additional fields. I should be able to add what? Additional fields. And again, these additional fields are specific to which customer here? Nestle Grid. Similarly, assume that we have another customer called Yellow Pages. What they want some two additional menu items. Same transaction, but the enhancement is different here. They want some two additional menu items, or they want some additional fields which are again specific to what? Their own requirement. So this process we call it as what? Enhancement. So enhancements can be in the form of what? Plugging what? Additional fields, plugging additional menu items, or plugging what? Additional validations on the existing standard fields. Means assume that they are the standard fields given by what? SAP. But according to my customer requirement, this field should be made as what? Mandatory. Means compulsory the user has to enter some data in this field. Okay, if I don't enter, it should not allow me to exit the transaction. So on the standard field itself, I'm plugging some additional validation. So all these enhancements I can do using different techniques. We have customer user exits, customer exits, baddies, enhancement framework, and also we have what? Switch framework, which is part of enhancement framework, which is part of enhancement framework. So user exits is a kind of what? Absolute, not recommended. Okay, the future enhancements will be in the form of what? Baddies, and even customer exits are also not going to be supported in the future versions. So our focus should be mainly on what? Baddies and what? Enhancement framework. These are all the old techniques. Currently they are still supported, but going forward they are going to become what? Absolute. They are going to be deprecated. They are not recommended. So we have to go for what? Baddies and what? Enhancement framework.
You mean to say this is going to be wind up for user exits and customer exits,
Yes,
right?
yes,
For
yes.
S4 HANA, for HANA part you want to say, or any other?
Not only S4HANA, any future SAP versions will get, they are going to slowly remove this user exits and what? Customer exits. It is completely based on baddies, which is based on object oriented.
But now the existing one, how they are going to update in the coming up versions?
They are going to migrate. We have something called as migration concept. They are going to migrate that customer exits to baddies. Same functionality we can implement in baddies with some additional features. So SAP itself will do it. Our job is to identify what are the baddies available in the transaction. If you feel that is a suitable baddie, we need to enhance that baddie.
Okay.
So as a developer, our job is we need not worry about how the SAP has migrated that customer to the baddie. Our job is to identify only what are the relevant enhancements available in the transaction in the form of baddies. Again, each transaction might contain n number of baddies. So we need to identify the suitable baddie and then implement that particular baddie to implement our enhancement.
Okay. Okay. See, for one user exits, can we use two badges for this? Because based on the customer requirement part, we may, the functionality of particular user exits may be of different kinds. But for one, if it is not available in one baddie, then
No,
how
no.
it is going to?
Yeah. Again, when you go to bodies, we have a concept called as single implementation and multiple implementation. Okay, that is the main advantage about bodies. User
Oh,
exits and customer exits always support single implementation. The advantage of bodies is there are some bodies which supports what? Multiple implementation. So already we have plugged some requirement. In future, again the customer wants one more requirement in the same transaction. So what I can do in the same body, I can plug what? Another enhancement. That is the advantage of body compared with the customer exits and user exits.
okay, okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So these are the things we are going to discuss as part of this particular what? Cross applications. Okay. So tomorrow onwards, I'll be starting either with RFCs or with what enhancements. I'm not sure because if you want to discuss RFCs, we require two servers. Okay, so if those servers are ready, I'll be starting with RFCs. Otherwise, I'll be I may not be discussing the sequence. So don't worry about the sequence. Okay, I may start with directly with enhancements. Enhancement doesn't require multiple servers, but if you take these RFCs and batteries, all those things, we require what multiple servers so that we'll have a better understanding on that. We can do it on a single system also, but for better understanding, let me try to show it on multiple systems. Okay, so tomorrow onwards, I'll be starting with practical part, either with RFCs or with what enhancements. I'll decide it tomorrow, right? And class timings, as I told you, it will be from 6:30 a.m.
Okay, there won't be any issue in that from my end.
6:30 a.m. to what 7:30 a.m. But again, this cross applications, there would be some concepts which may require some additional discussion. So sometimes it may go till 7:45 or sometimes 8 also. So what is my suggestion is be flexible till 8. Okay, so not daily, but sometimes we may need to extend. Okay, but initially it will be only for 1 hour, but going forward I may extend it for more than 1 hour. So daily around 6:30 you will get the meeting IDs to your email. It will not be the same meeting ID, every it will be changing. Okay, so I'll be sharing this meeting IDs on a daily basis just before the class.
Okay, okay. So, whenever you are free, just call me now. This is KK.
Yeah, Kishore, you can do one thing. You can call me after 11 a.m. Na? So,
Yeah, the same number, no?
yeah, same number. Morning you
Yeah, yeah.
call me, right? So same number.
Yeah, yeah.
Call me after 11 a.m.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, others, any questions? So whatever we discussed today, I'll be sharing these notes and the recording, everything. So tomorrow onwards, we'll be starting with the practical part. Okay, so done. I'm done from my end. I'll continue tomorrow. Any questions further?
Thank you. Nothing. From my end, it's clear.
Hello?
Yeah, Rajesh.
Maybe we'll cover the implicit enhancements and explicit enhancements.
Yeah, it will come under this one only. Enhancement framework
Okay.
contains source code enhancements, which includes what? Implicit, explicit, source code enhancements. What else is that? Hmm. Function group enhancements. Okay, and we have what something called as what class enhancements. And here only we have something called as kernel. So all these things are part of what enhancement framework. So I'm discussing these things. Okay.
And one last thing. So we will not be covering the customer exit and the user exit, even in.
No, I'll cover. I'll show one example on that. But
Okay.
more focus would be on what bad is. But definitely We'll be seeing couple of examples on customer exits also. Then only we'll understand the difference between customer exits and bodies. So to begin with, we'll be starting with customer exits only. Okay, couple of examples we'll see on that. Not couple. One, two, three. One example on validation menu. Yeah, three examples we are going to see on customer exits. Then we'll be going toward bodies.
Okay. What about the user exits thing?
User exits. Yeah, again, there will be confusion for everyone. User exits and customer exits are different. Okay, to implement this user exit, we require access key. We require what? Access key.
Mhm.
Okay, but for other enhancements like customer exits and badges, we don't require any access key. And this user exits, they are supported mainly for SD and what? Modules only. I'll show you the procedure. I'll show you the procedure how to identify the user exit and where to implement. But in order to implement that, we require what? Access key. Okay. So I may not show it practically, Rajesh, but customer exit badges, yes, we'll be seeing practically.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Any other doubts, others? Sure then. So I'm winding off. We'll continue tomorrow around 6:30. Okay. Sure.